curing your ills, and it's a good day for paying your bills. So take a deep breath and throw away the pills, 'cause it's a good day from morning till night. Yes, it's a good day from morning till night. A good day from morning till night. A good day from
Come on, feet. Start moving. Got to get me there. Hey, hey. Oh, 25 miles from home, girl. My feet are hurting mighty bad. Now I've been walking
Well,
for
let me
weeks
start my video.
too lonely.
I know.
That I'm mighty mad. But I got a woman waiting for me that's gonna make this trip worth a while. You see, she's got the kind of loving and a kissing make a man go stone wild. So I got to keep on walking. I got to walk on. Oh, oh, oh. I'm so tired.
Hello, Melissa. It's Susie Call, your interpreter.
Hi, Susie, would you be able to turn your video on so we could spotlight you?
I was trying. Just not let me. Oh. No. Hold on one second. You know, 1 second, I'm trying to get my video on. It just won't let me do it. Oh.
Okay, the camera.
The camera will not allow me.
It's the camera here.
It's my camera. Hold on. We're getting a new one.
Come on, feet, don't fail me now. I got 10 more miles to go. I got 9, 8, 7, 6, 6, 6. I got 5 more miles to go now. Over the hill, just around the bend. Although my feet are tired, I can't lose my stride. I got to get to my baby again. I got to keep on walking. Hey, I got to walk on. Wait, let me tell you, y'all, I'm so tired, but I just can't lose my stride.
You see me?
I got to walk on.
Hello. Hi. Yes.
Hi, Susie, we have you spotlighted. We are going to go ahead and mute you, though. Is that okay?
Thank you so much.
All right, great.
You know the nighttime now is the right time to be with the one you love now. Say now, oh baby, say now, come on baby now. I wanna be the one I love now. You the one thinking of. I know the nighttime. Oh, it's the right time to be the one you love now.
You have a question. I got an email from Emilio asking me to do the keynote. So I'm assuming you're here, Miss Dodd. Okay, perfect. I want to make sure I'm in the right place now.
Yes, and good morning, everyone. We'll be starting in about 5 minutes. Welcome.
People say that we don't know what love is or how to make it grow. Well, I don't know if all that's true, 'cause you got me and baby, I got you. Oh, baby, I got you, baby. I got you, baby. Say our love won't pay the rent before it's earned, our money's all been spent. Yes, that's true, we don't have a lot, but at least I'm sure of all the things we've got. Oh, baby, I got you, baby.
Yeah, I missed on that. Hi, Dr. Room.
You, baby. I got flowers
Good morning.
in the spring, yeah. I've got you to wear my ring. And when I'm sad, you're a cloud. And when I get scared, you're always around. Let 'em say we're all wrong. I don't care, with you I can't go wrong.
Good morning, everyone. We'll get started in 1 minute. We still have participants joining the webinar, so we'll give them a minute to join us.
I got you, baby. I got you, baby. I got you to hold my hand. I got you to understand. I got you to walk with me, and I got you to talk with me. I got you to kiss goodnight. I got you, hold me tight. I got you, I won't let go. I got you to love me so. Oh, baby.
Hey, someone is texting me, and thank you. We have another interpreter. We work in pairs, so he'll join us soon. Thank you.
And we will go ahead and get started. We still have participants joining us, but we want to be respectful of time. We have an action-packed virtual day for everyone. You're hopefully noticing in our chat that we have some information that we will also walk through, some of our logistics for the morning. And as we transition and get ready for to kick off our day together. Hello, everyone. My name is Melissa Dodd, and I am the Technology Services Officer for SFUSD. I have the honor of leading our district's dedicated Department of Technology. We are back for our 8th annual Digital District Day. We're so glad that you're here joining us for this day of learning as we kick off the brand new school year. Just to give a little background in case you're new, the purpose of Digital District Day is to help you leverage technology in innovative ways. Our theme this year is Our Digital Future, for you and for your students, your families, and your communities. As we know, technology continues to transform our lives. Brings us new ways of interacting with new services. We've got, the prevalence of virtual collaboration. Here we are, we've kept Digital District Day virtual to be able to showcase some of what's possible. And there are more tools that get introduced every day, including AI, tools that help us connect and help us in our daily lives. And our students are growing up in a world that's very different from the way that we grew up in. And it's our responsibility to prepare them. And we might not know what all the new technologies are right now, or even what's going to exist 5 or 10 years from now, but we can help to build our students' mindsets and prepare them by encouraging curiosity and, most importantly, critical thinking and information literacy. We can help them ask intelligent questions as new technologies arise and to use tools for good. We can help build their identities and confidence to explore new technology. And to accomplish all of this, to help prepare our students, we've got to help prepare ourselves. And that's where Our Digital Future comes in. That's what today is all about. Today is about you, your professional growth and development, and having opportunities to learn new skills and strategies to bring into your classroom, to bring into your school, and to bring into your work in SFUSD. So thank you so much for embracing your own agency with technology today. A huge shout out and thank you to our educators and our para-educators. We know that today is technically the last day of your summer break. So the fact that you're here with us, and we've got about 1,000 participants with us already, that's a testament to your dedication and to your commitment to your own learning. If you've noticed, we're using a new, second time around with Zoom events. So we're hoping to be able to model that continuous improvement and learning with new platforms. I'm going to give a couple of logistical notes, and then I'll do a bit of framing and be able to introduce our superintendent in just a moment. So for accessibility, we do have ASL interpretation and captioning during our keynote and the afternoon and closing sessions, and then through some select sessions throughout the day. You can do auto-generated subtitles and transcripts for all of the sessions. Next slide. We've got support for you all day. If you need help, our amazing help desk is here to help you. Go to that website, sfusd.edu/DDD-help. And if you please keep an eye out on our website as well. We'll post the most up-to-date information there throughout the day should anything change. A couple helpful links. Shout out to Steve Kiesel. He's been putting this information in the chat. Information to help you sign in. Please just sign in once using the district's form. Our help desk is here to help you. And of course, we want your feedback. We use that feedback every year to improve and strengthen Digital District Day. There again, you can take a screenshot of that QR code if you need to sign in. And very important, there are 3 steps for pay if you're an educator, a para, or a substitute. They're all located at that bit.ly, so you can take a picture of that bit.ly. You'll need to sign in to the event form. You've got to fill out your personal template and then submit your hours through Empower SF. So 3 steps for payment. And of course, don't forget feedback. Okay. Before I welcome the superintendent to the virtual stage, want to share a little bit of context and framing. Our purpose in DOT, Department of Technology, is to help transform SFUSD into a digital district to prepare our students for college and career success in the 21st century. Dr. Wayne's going to share more about our vision and values and our goals and guardrails, sort of our what sets our North Star in the district. But our job in DOT is to help ensure that technology is an enabler for our goals and our district values. For those who have been with us before, you've heard the word Tequity from previous keynotes that we've had, really bringing together the importance of technology and equity, both equity of access to technology and to rich content, but as well as equity of opportunities. So we really want to be leveraging technology in meaningful ways to engage students and to support them with deeper learning experiences. Just to give a little context of technology in the district, our tech ecosystem is quite diverse and expansive. A couple of little stats here you might not have known. We have over 4,500 access points that connect us online across all of our schools. We have over 11,000 phone lines. Yes, we use our phone lines at all of our schools and buildings. And we have in total more than 120,000 devices out there that are in use by our students and our staff, and as well as our families, because 92% of our students have at least one parent or guardian with a parent viewer account. That's a great way for us to share information with our families. And to support all of that, it takes a dedicated technology team to make that as technology as accessible and integrated as possible. So share a few highlights of technology accomplishments here in the district. Today being one of those days, we have Digital District Day, our 8th annual. We have been working, coming out of the pandemic, really accelerating technology access in the district. 3/4 of our students in grades 4 through 12 have a device that they can take home and use at school for learning. And we have moved, many of you, if you're an educator out there and you take attendance every day in your grade book, we've moved Synergy into the cloud to make it move faster and more secure for us as well. Next slide. I want to highlight a couple of we have a number of new initiatives this year, as well as some transitions coming soon in DOT that we'll talk about this afternoon. But wanted to highlight our key priorities around access to technology and learning opportunities, modernizing that technology ecosystem. We've got to keep it up to date. It's constantly evolving, and keeping our environment safe and secure. And our superintendent will talk about that later. I want to highlight a couple of priorities here that you might see on the slide, especially if you're a teacher. We are refreshing laptops for our educators this year. And as I shared, our work around going one-to-one with our students. Next slide. All of that to say, right, it's both the access to technology and those meaningful opportunities. We've been partnering up with curriculum and instruction around our instructional guidance and coherence. You'll be hearing a lot about instructional coherence this year, as well as has been a focus for us last year. And we've been partnering with CNI to develop those getting started guides around digital learning for our students. All of the guides for grades K through 5 are available, and we are working on our middle and high school ones as well. And finally, just wanting again to highlight the importance of leveraging technology for those deeper learning experiences for our students. We're so thrilled to have you here joining us today. Here are some artwork and creations from students at Sanchez Elementary in Manuela Wolf Johnson's 4th grade class. Just wanting to make sure always that we hold dear our core value of being student-centered. Great. And with that, I have the honor of introducing our superintendent, Dr. Matt Wayne. Dr. Wayne is a lifelong educator and no stranger to SFUSD. He has had many roles in his educational career, including being a middle school teacher, an administrator, an assistant superintendent, and superintendent now in his 2nd district here with us. Next slide. And after a year of getting to working and partnering with Dr. Wayne, we can share a little bit about the real deal beyond the formal bio. He is definitely a kid at heart. You may see him, if you haven't already, riding around on his scooter from school to school and to buildings. He is the parent of 2 young adults, so a bit of an empty nester now, and loves a good costume and is a verbal processor, loves hearing stories and connecting with our school communities. So we're thrilled to have Dr. Wayne help kick off Digital District Day today. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Dr. Wayne.
Thank you, Melissa. Appreciate the warm introduction, and good morning, everyone. It's so great to be here and see you all. And as you said, I'm can be a kid at heart. So I will say I was watching the participants number, and we just passed 1K. So that was exciting to see. And I'm glad so many of you have come out for this important day of learning. And I just want to talk a little bit about where we're going as a district. Last year, I started my first year as superintendent and did a lot of listening and learning and getting to know the district. I'm excited to start this year where we have very clear plan and roadmap to support our students, ultimately to achieve our vision. And this is our new vision that the Board of Education approved last year, that all SFUSD students will graduate as independent thinkers with a sense of agency who have attained academic and creative skills to lead productive lives and contribute to our community. And when I read those words, go back to them, please. When I read those words, they are more than just words on a page. What I appreciate about this vision in particular is our emphasis in not just teaching our students the skills, but setting them up so they can be leaders when they leave our district. And as I've been in the district for a year, I've seen how we're doing that with our students and how they will step up and lead. As Melissa said, I like to sometimes take my scooter around. It's an easier way to get around San Francisco, and I'll just pop into schools. I do scheduled visits, but I like just popping into schools, so then I get to see what's really happening. And I went by one of our high schools one morning, and what was happening, there was an issue that students were having. But we have a peer resources program where students learn how to help their classmates solve problems in much more peaceful ways. And so I actually got to see students facilitating a conversation between two of their classmates who were having an issue. And that's that kind of leadership we want to teach our students inside the classroom and beyond. And so this vision is really something we need to hold at the center as we're working in our day-to-day work with our students. And as we're working with them, if you go to the next slide, the way we're going to achieve that vision is through every day we provide, through our mission, which is every day we provide each and every student the quality instruction and equitable support required to thrive in the 21st century. And what I appreciate about our mission is But for a lot of organizations, the mission is, paste it on the wall and doesn't mean anything. But I've learned here in San Francisco how everyone, really embraces and understands the responsibility we have to provide each and every student. That notion that we have an incredibly diverse district with students with a lot of different needs, and we need to figure out how to serve each and every one. It's not just enough to just be, supporting our class in general, but figuring out how each of our students what each of our students needs to be successful. And then, of course, in our district, we hold some values closely that guide our work. And that's being student-centered, fearless, united, with a commitment to social justice and being diversity-driven. And when I think of these values, the first one for me is, of course, the most important, the foundation of what we do. And that's being student-centered. And that means, we not only think of our students when we're making decisions or going about our work, but we actually are listening to our students and understanding their needs. And that's where technology can really help us. And the tools we have, it makes it so much easier now to find out what our students are thinking. And so I love going into classrooms and seeing different ways that teachers are getting information from their students. I've seen teachers use Kahoot quizzes, Kahoot surveys to find out in the moment what students are thinking. And that helps us know really what we need to do to be able to serve them well and make sure our lessons are engaging and that we're tapping into what their interests and passions are. So, as I shared, I did a lot of listening and learning last year. And this year, we begin the year with a laser-like focus on our goals for student learning. And the board has identified 3 goals to achieve over the next 5 years around 3rd grade literacy, 8th grade math, and college and career readiness. Now, I understand there's nothing, revolutionary about these goals, right? They're pretty basic and they're what we should be doing as educators. But what is different is having this level of focus and having these clear targets. And then every year we have interim goals that we're working towards. And so this allows us to really organize our work, our professional development, and the resources we're providing in a way that we know will have a direct impact on students meeting those goals. And as we're working to achieve those goals, if you go to the next slide, we have some guardrails that we need to follow. And this is how we operationalize our values to be able to help us meet our goals. So, for example, when I talk about being student-centered, our goals are about the outcomes we want for our students, but we recognize that there may be some factors that they face that may make it difficult to reach those outcomes. So if a student is coming to school and is hungry or is facing housing insecurity, we know it could be hard to focus in the classroom on literacy and math. And so we need to make sure we're serving the whole child and providing services to them so that they can focus in the classroom. And so these are some of the guardrails we have to make sure that as we're developing our plans to meet those goals, that we're doing it in a way that represents our values as well. Okay, so when we talk about the type of teaching and learning we want in the classroom to meet our goals, we have an instructional framework that lays out what that looks like. And it has a few key components: our deeper learning framework, our core instruction rubric, and our instructional guidance website. And I want to speak to the core rubric we have. And you see in the middle here 4 questions that we can ask ourselves as educators every time there's a lesson we're doing, our students are in the classroom. And they're questions around the culture of learning, academic ownership, demonstration of learning, and essential content. And we highlight these questions because if the answer to these questions is yes, for example, if the answer to the question around academic ownership are all students responsible for doing the thinking in this classroom? So if we answer that question yes, and the other questions, the answer is yes, we know our students are engaging in deeper learning and will be working at the right level to meet our goals. Right? Because if we're doing the thinking in the classroom, if we're doing all the talking, then we know then they're not processing what they need to process to be able to learn and to engage in deeper learning. So this core rubric, you're going to hear us talk about that a lot during the year, and this should be shared with you at your schools. And it's a really helpful tool to be able to reflect on our practice as educators. And then lastly, I just want to speak a little bit about the role of digital learning in San Francisco. As Melissa shared, there's been incredible work the last several years to ensure that technology is integrated in the classroom and students have access to it. And what I've loved seeing in San Francisco is digital learning is happening from our earliest grades all the way up through high school. And I feel like sometimes people might have a question like, should kids in kindergarten be using technology in the classroom? And the answer is, of course. We have to be integrating technology in a classroom at all levels because they're using it whether they're in the classroom or not in this day and age. And we want to help them use it in ways that are responsible and further their learning. So I did a visit to John Yihao Chin this year and last year and loved seeing the kindergartners in class. They had their iPads out and they were working on their letters and understanding the letter sounds using the iPad. And it was a great tool for them to use. And then last year, what you see here, we had our career pathway showcase. And this is where students who are in career pathways show off what they're learning. And right there, I'm actually playing a video game the students from the Balboa game design career pathway developed. And so we want to make sure that our students have these opportunities to engage in digital learning from pre-K to 12th grade, because it's one of those skills they need for them to realize our vision that they're leading productive lives when they leave us here in San Francisco. So thank you for being here on this day and demonstrating your commitment to supporting digital learning in our schools. As Melissa shared, we know it's before the start of the school year, so appreciate how committed you are to ensuring that technology is a tool that helps further our efforts to meet our goals and something that you're thinking about how to continue to integrate in the classroom. Now, like any tool, and then lastly, just want to share, again, the technology is the tool to help facilitate the kind of relationship we want with our students and really what we want in this whole community. So I do want to make sure you understand that as we go about our work, this is work where, it's our heart work, right? We got into education because we care about kids and we want to make, their lives better, and we want to make our community better. And so just know that as I enter my second year as superintendent, how important it is to make sure you all understand that we really are here to support our staff and support our families to make sure that you all have what you need to support our students. And I know sometimes it may not feel that way, but we're working really hard to make sure that what you can focus on is what's happening in the classroom so that you can serve each and every one of your students. And then if you go to the next slide, as I was saying, our technology ultimately is a tool, and tools can be used in very helpful ways, but sometimes tools can be problematic. And so cybersecurity is an issue that we must constantly face. You see these headlines here, and San Francisco has been in the headlines enough. We don't need to be in the headlines for this. Fortunately, we're a district that hasn't faced this yet, but four of the 8 largest districts in California have had some issue like this. So we're taking steps to make sure that these to safeguard our data and safeguard the access to technology. So we're doing some things you'll hear about this year, but just if you go to the next slide, want to highlight some things that you could do to make sure that our student data and your data is safe. And so that's using our district approved tools. There's a lot of resources out there, but we have a lot of tools that we've already vetted that we know will work well and are safe. And then just, from having a good password to avoiding those phishing scams. We are starting to use the 2-factor authentication that you use when you log into your bank or other places where you have sensitive information. We'll be setting that up, over the next school year, and it's something that I set up, and it's really easy to use, and appreciate the DOT's support for this. And so, so just want to make sure we're being mindful that the technology that we're using, we're doing it in a way that protects our data and protects the district, but want to make sure that you are using it and integrating into the classroom. So thank you for giving me an opportunity to share where we're going and to talk about what digital learning looks like in our district. And I'll turn it back over to Melissa because I'm really excited to hear our keynote and learn a little bit more about what the future of digital learning might look like.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Wayne, for kicking us off this morning at Digital District Day and for sharing about the district's vision and our learning goals. You know, when we look at that instructional rubric, that core rubric, and our vision, particularly around our vision of developing independent thinkers, harnessing the creativity of our students, supporting student agency to be productive members of society. Technology can support all of that, support that vision in so many powerful and helpful ways. And thank you again. We'll keep this slide up for a minute more as we transition to our keynote for the day. I'm just wanting to underscore with technology and all the benefits, we also want to make sure that we have safe and secure environments and some quick and easy actions that you can take to help secure your information and that of your students. So thank you again, Dr. Wayne. So next slide. I have the honor of introducing our keynote speaker, Dr. Sonal Patel. I'm thrilled to have Dr. Patel joining us today. Good morning. Dr. Patel is currently the program manager for computer science and digital learning with San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools. Sonal works to bring transformative and culturally responsive practices into her work, leading professional development and coaching in both digital and blended learning. Sonal is a CSTA Equity Fellow and co-founder of the California Inland Empire Computer Science Equity Network. She's also a Google certified trainer and innovator and a member of Our Voice Alliance, and recently was the recipient of ISTE's 20 to Watch, congratulations, which recognizes up and coming individuals who are already making a difference in their field and in our work. And in her keynote today, Sonal will be sharing some inspiring ideas about how we can empower learners and unleash the potential of student agency through blended learning. So with that, I will kick it over to you, Dr. Patel. Welcome.
Thank you so much. That was quite the welcome. I appreciate you so much. What an amazing introduction to digital day for San Francisco. I am so excited to be here to share with you the power of student agency through blended learning. Thank you so much for having me. I just want to take you back to this meme that I saw back in June, and it just made me chuckle when I saw it. And I'm sure you were thinking it back in June, where we don't talk about August, but it's finally here. And needless to say, I am excited, and I'm sure that you're itching to go back regardless of how you were feeling in June. And I wish you a really warm welcome back into your school settings and your classroom experiences for this year. A little about me. I am a mom and a wife, first and foremost. I have two children, a 10 and a 12-year-old. On the left-hand side is my husband's family, my in-laws, who are very, very close to me. My in-laws and my brother-in-laws are in that picture also. And then on the right here in the blue, with the blue border, are my family in the UK. I am a dual citizen of the United Kingdom and USA. I've been here about, believe it or not, 16 years. I still have this accent that kind of gets distorted from time to time, but still there. I love to travel. I'm bilingual. I speak Gujarati fluently, and I read and write it also. And I celebrate a lot of Hindu festivals, which is the culture that I have grown up with, and I continue to practice. So I want you to think about the identities that your students will be bringing into your classroom this year and every single year. And I want you to think about yourselves for a moment. Unfortunately, I can't get the chat responses this morning, but needless to say, I'd love you to just consider for a moment what some of your non-physical identities are that you're bringing into this space today, because surely not, like most of our students do bring in those identities, and the physical appearance doesn't always state where our students are coming from, their cultural backgrounds, some of the things that they are perhaps interested in or have experienced. And I want you to just think about that for a moment in terms of your non-physical identities. And I'm sure you'll share it with your colleagues and your friends within your school district. As you think about this, I do want to share that much of my story is based around my own schooling experience. And it was a horrific schooling experience for me from the age of 5 until 11. I was born and raised into an immigrant family, and I was the only brown working class student in an all-white middle-class school. My parents had a similar story to many immigrant families in that they believe that the ticket to achieving successful goals, academic goals, and being successful in the future was honestly being around predominantly white surroundings. And that's what had happened to me. I was in this school and I wasn't allowed to bring my own cultural experiences into this classroom. I didn't experience positive surroundings in terms of, I was bullied frequently, and I felt that teachers didn't really care about me. And this was actually a picture of my primary school back in the UK. And it wasn't until very later, 10 years of my schooling life, it took before I actually felt that I could, strive for more. I was actually removed from my primary school, which is an elementary school, after about 10 years when my parents realized that I was being bullied and that I was absolutely miserable at this school. And they moved me to a low income neighborhood, but I was still the minority. Here's another picture of me. I was 11 years old at this school setting, still receiving some discrimination in terms of my race. And I also felt that I didn't have that rigorous education that a lot of my peers had. I was an English language learner, often put in remedial classes. I didn't feel that again, similar to my elementary school education, I did not feel that my experiences and the assets that I was able to bring in from my own background, my own cultural background, was brought into this space. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment, right after I tell you that things did get better, I promise you. I did meet an incredible educator, and I'll talk about that person in just a moment, right after I tell you about what my norm was before I met this teacher, before this teacher changed the trajectory. My norm was honestly wearing westernized formal clothing, when at home, I would be wearing traditional clothing most of the time. And if not traditional clothing that I was perhaps more comfortable with. The tradition was having a name like Tom or Lisa or Tracy or Mark, not Sonal, I assure you. And I have no offense to anybody with these names. I have a lot of friends with these names, but my name was Sonal. So you can imagine the kind of attention that received. I did not get my name pronounced correctly for many, many years. My name is Sonal. It means golden. And in order to pronounce it correctly, I used to tell people, rhyme it with Ronald, take the D off the end and you get Sonal. And I still continue to say that to this day so that my name is pronounced correctly. The norm was also learning content that had no connection to my culture and lived experience. Oftentimes, I didn't feel like the experiences I was getting connected at all to my own background, as I shared earlier. And that led to a lack of engagement and motivation in the school setting. As I mentioned earlier, I was caught up between a world of cultural assimilation versus cultural identity. And what I mean by that is anyone who didn't fit the norm, and this is similar to the experiences of many immigrant families, anyone who didn't fit the norm sliced away facets of themselves in order to feel safe. I had to pretend to be somebody else in that setting. And I had to pretend quite frequently until Miss Kennedy came along. I alluded to her, in my previous slide, but she was an incredible educator that truly valued me. She knew my name. In fact, on day one, she asked me how to pronounce my name. And I told her exactly what I told you. You rhyme it with Ronald, you take the D off the end, and you get Sonal. She valued my identity. I remember one of the first projects that she gave me was a project on arranged marriages. She had me research arranged marriages, knowing after conversation with me that my own parents had an arranged marriage. And 40 years later, they're still kicking it strong, believe it or not. But this arranged marriage project was my motivator. And from that project, she saw my unique strengths. She saw that I was able to write. She saw that I had great voice that I could bring into my writing, and that I was able to do things that I never previously valued. Due to my elementary education, I felt such a lack of confidence. Miss Kennedy lifted that up. She truly cared about me. Every day she'd stand at the door and she'd ask me how I am. Let's think about that for a moment. She greeted me at the door and asked me how I am. And that was everything. It was absolutely everything. I felt like I belonged for the first time in my educational experience. And from there, of course, I became a teacher. She inspired me so much that I decided to actually do my undergraduate in English literature. She was an English teacher, and this was my first teaching experience back in 2005. I know it feels like such a long time ago. And yes, we did have smart boards back in the UK in 2005. This was one of the high technology schools, so they just started to introduce them. Now it just feels so ancient, doesn't it, to have a smart board? And I'm sure these newer smart boards have so many more technologies. But I remember introducing the technology from day one, and I remember just how powerful that experience was and how students felt a sense of excitement as I brought real world applications into their experience in education. I also remember the good old computer science lab that I had, where students were able to work collaboratively to solve problems and use the World Wide Web widely in order to support their thinking, their critical thinking. And guess what? They called it blended learning here in the USA. So this was actually a real picture of my classroom, my fourth grade classroom. I have taught a range of grade levels. This is a fourth grade classroom here in the USA, where I started the blended learning experience and saw the power and the uniqueness of blended learning. And I'm just going to read this quote to you for a second, which really sums up what blended learning is. Excuse me. Blended learning is the optimization of in-person technology-enhanced instructional environments that value culturally meaningful, personalized, and student-centered learning experiences. It's that whole feeling of how can we make this a meaningful learning experience for our students, one that is student-centered with the use of technology. And with that, I just want to share what the kinds of blended learning models that I'm seeing out there in the educational settings and the ones that I'm actively promoting. The station rotation model allows for students to move through stations that are timed, that are at an appropriate pace. Teachers are oftentimes with a small group of students, while the other groups of students are working on meaningful activities. One station might be a collaborative station, such as the one in the picture here. Another station might be an independent learning experience. And another station might be a project-based learning experience that spans the entire month, where students work on these engaging projects. And I'll share an example of what an engaging project might look like in just a moment. The flexible learning experience is also one that really enhances that student-centered experience that your superintendent, Dr. Wayne, talked about earlier. It allows the teacher to be the facilitator of the learning experience, allowing students to take ownership of their goals, their experience. It allows them to actually have that agency where they can reach out to the teacher when they need that careful coaching and guidance in the projects that they are trying to accomplish. Oftentimes, teachers put a list of activities that they need to accomplish, and students go through and work collaboratively or independently to achieve those goals. So blended learning can empower student agency greatly, and I'll share more examples of that in a moment. It can enhance personalized learning experiences so that we're meeting the needs of our diverse learners. It can also inspire change through the use of meaningful technology implementation. What are we talking about when we're talking about empowering student agency? And for this, I'd like to just share a short video with you. It's a two and a half minute video And I want to thank the principal of Almeria Middle School in Fontana Unified School District, Felix Jones, as well as teachers Brittany Bush and Erin Ashoff, who share some of their experiences in that blended learning setting. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a moment because I forgot to switch on the sound. I'll share again. Excuse me. Apologies. Thank you for your patience. And there we go. There we go. I have to let you see it full screen. It's too special. Thank you.
Our blended learning pioneers are really taking risks and doing a lot of the heavy lifting. One of the ways that we give students that self-agency that we want them to have is by leveraging a flex learning model as well as station rotation.
So for blended learning, I specifically do a flex model in my classroom, meaning that my students get their whole lesson posted for a whole week at a time, typically, and they get to work at their own pace with who they want to work with. They have a variety of modalities that they can choose to utilize to best understand the materials and demonstrate their learning. It means I'm not running the show at the front of the classroom. I am letting my students take charge of their learning. As scary as that might be sometimes, it's great because we get to pull small groups and really target our students who need the additional support and get them that one-on-one teacher time that they need.
I am there to help guide students and to help them manage their journeys, but it's truly theirs. And I really kind of step back and let them explore that. So I give them opportunities to take a look at the material, to explore it, to engage with it, and make connections, not just to what's on the paper, but to their own lives.
I think 8th grade and middle school in general is the perfect time to do it because it's those transition years between being a young child in elementary school towards being that young adult that we expect in high school. So I think it's super important to give them the opportunity to start learning on their own and start being independent and advocating for themselves and for the things that they're interested in and get those choices.
The students are performing better. Those relationships are being developed. And I believe our students are beginning to be empowered to advocate for themselves, to have conversations, and to even start to ask questions that historically they would not have asked.
Blended learning is a challenge. I don't want to say that it was easy. It didn't happen overnight. There's a lot of trial and error, but it is profound, the growth that my students are having. To see them take agency and care about their learning and be aware of what they're doing is amazing.
It always warms my heart greatly to see, excuse me, sorry, to see that video and to see these educators that I've had the pleasure of working with. We saw some real key points in that video, and one being relationships being at the heart of the work that is done in these blended learning settings. And for that, I want to just bring your attention to this agency framework that I find extremely valuable. The agency framework is created by Sophia and Dugan through the book Street Data. And this framework highlights that efficacy and mastery are both important, but it really, you can't obtain efficacy and mastery without creating that sense of identity and belonging in that space, in that classroom space. So how do we help students bring their whole selves into this space? How do we help them to see themselves and see that they are seen and loved? How do we bring and elevate those voices of all of our students? And then with that, we can hope to achieve all of the outcomes that we want from our students, not just academic, but their social and emotional outcomes. And I love this quote: agency emerges in spaces where power is distributed, knowledge is democratized, diverse perspectives are welcomed, and children are intellectually and emotionally nourished. If students are allowed to bring their whole selves into these classroom spaces, we will see them rise to the occasion. There's mounds of research that suggests that taking that asset-based approach versus having that deficit thinking leads to student success in every possible area. And when we think about asset-based learning, we're really thinking about valuing the interests and strengths of all of our students and the experiences that they bring, the experiences that diverse learners bring into the classroom space. We're thinking about community and culture and helping them to feel safe. I did not feel safe for 10 whole years of my, actually less than 10, but the many years of my life, I did feel unsafe in that classroom space. I felt that at any minute a student would attack me or a teacher would make me feel really small. How do we help students feel that sense of community, feel safe and included in their space? How to help students become architects of their own destinies, where they are setting their goals and making choices and taking initiatives for their own learning process? And how do we help them develop that sense of student agency? And of course, it's that taking that appreciative inquiry approach where we're bringing their whole selves into the classroom space, where we're allowing them to truly excel as they bring themselves into the space where they are having an opportunity to inquire and ask questions and interact with others while they come up with some thoughtful solutions to problems and any of the activities that we're providing. We're moving away from the deficit thinking, thinking about the deficiencies and the shortcomings of students. Instead, we're giving that rigorous, high quality, culturally responsive experience to our students. And with that, there's another way that we can achieve this asset-based approach and create this wonderful blended learning experience that utilizes technology, and that's personalized learning. This teacher, Mr. Robertson, is another teacher that I work quite closely with. He is a math educator, and he values a lot of the principles of universal design for learning. An example of something that he does frequently is engages his learners and gives them choices. This is a math classroom. He gave students, and I was here at this moment, and I took that very picture. He gave students a myriad of math word problems, and they connected to a variety of different experiences as students could choose the word problem that met the same outcome that he was hoping to achieve. And that giving them that little bit of choice enhanced their motivation. He also frequently provides a lot of representations and visuals for students, as well as videos to help support their learning. That one size fit, moving away from that one size fits all model, and he does a great job of creating those videos, a video playlist of going over concepts and things that students might struggle with that they can go back to and watch and experience again and learn from again, where they can stop and pause and restart that video. He also offers options and supports to all students that everyone can create, learn, and share. One experience that I remember him providing is for students to share the solutions to their problems via a Flip video. They could either share a video on Flip, or they could, record an audio piece, or they could share a screen where they're going over their word problem, and they submitted the demonstration of their solutions into their Google Classroom, and that gave them variety and gave them motivation to succeed. Another thoughtful way of using technology to inspire, there's lots of ways. That teacher did an outstanding job of personalizing instruction for our learners in so many magnificent ways. And one way that I'd like to suggest to you is giving students projects that truly matter to them. I'm going to pause for a moment while you think about all of these problems. These are the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals that are used worldwide as a place for people to come to through industry and education to think about the problems that are facing us today and every day, and how we can use the resources around us, including technology and the ability to be able to communicate globally, to be able to solve these problems. So let me pause for just a moment as you consider each of these goals. Think about some of the goals that matter to you personally. Which ones do you feel most connected to? So for me, as you're thinking about this, I really value a quality education. Having had the education that I experienced for so many years, I saw after Miss Kennedy what a quality education looked like. I saw that a quality education includes making kids feel a sense of belonging and safety in that space. So as an educator, I'm constantly thinking of ways that I can help all of our students feel that sense of belonging. What solutions might I offer to help students feel that sense of belonging? So as you consider these goals, have a think about the solutions that you might be able to offer. And while you think about that, let me talk about an experience that I had at Compton Unified School District earlier this year, where I got to meet this wonderful student who worked with a group to accomplish a solution for the no poverty goal, but based it around her own community setting, their own community setting. It was a group project. There was about 5 people in this project. They empathized with this problem. They did a series of interviews in their community and ideated on lots of different ideas in order to be able to solve this problem. And what they came up with was the Center for the Homeless Project. In fact, this is their prototype of the Center for the Homeless Project. And their actual solution was an app. They created an app that allowed for the community to be able to donate resources and money to be able to build a future homeless shelter for people that identify as homeless. And this was a project that was actually uplifted in the community. The city council got involved and actually I should have if I thought about it, I would have connected you with that app. But the student has an app now and is collecting donations on a daily basis just from this project and working with their group. Now, bear in mind that this student utilized technology to their advantage. They emailed frequently. The student created videos. The student and her group created videos, promotional videos for marketing. They frequently sent Google surveys and forms out to people so that they could get to really understand the problem and the needs of the homeless people community. And it was truly just so inspiring to go through and listen to that project. So as I think about the project that this student had, I want you to consider the design thinking protocol, which is widely used throughout internationally, actually, with the use of technology. So I want you to think about it through the use of technology. How can we get our students to perhaps engage in, for example, that project-based learning station using design thinking? How can we get them to empathize with the problem using the myriad of technology applications that are around us today and the ones that are available to you? Here are some examples, and I know that you have specific tools that you are connected to in your school district, but examples of ways we can empathize is perhaps you'll do a Google form, or you'll do interviews through Flip, or you'll collect responses from a Wakelet wall, or you might even try to get responses from social media or use ChatGPT, which I'll talk about in just a moment. ChatGPT offers the ability to be able to use generative artificial intelligence in order to collaborate and come up with some ideas on questions that you may have. And I'll share with you an example of how you might use that in just a moment. And then you want to encourage students to then define whatever they empathize with. So they've empathized with the problem, they come up with all of these responses, and then they look at all of these responses and they define it. But defining it takes a lot of time. Believe me, I've done this myself, where I have to go back and I have to consider, I have to brainstorm, I have to use applications like Jamboard or Mural or Idea Flip to brainstorm how to define this problem. And once I've defined the problem, of course, now I'm brainstorming solutions, and there are applications such as Miro and Lucidchart and collaborative docs, as well as collaborative slides, that allow us to ideate with our groups, with each other, or just independently, so that we can come up with these solutions. And of course, not to, when I talk about blended learning, I do want to enhance the fact that it does involve offline experiences as well. So that ideation may be a paper pencil, where you're brainstorming on paper some ideas. And then students come up with prototypes, of course, and they use a myriad of different resources for prototyping. Adobe Express is one of my favorites in order to be able to illustrate infographics. and to be able to explain what that prototype is. That student created an offline model of a homeless shelter, the student that I just spoke about. And that is an example of a prototype. Some students might create a screencastify presentation. So there are so many ways to be able to create using technology. And then, of course, they tested their solution with perhaps they might have created a YouTube video, and they tested that YouTube video to see if it met their outcome. They may have created an app using App Lab. These are just lots of different ideas. And if you want to take a screenshot of this slide in particular, I do have a bit.ly link here that will lead you to a slide deck of these design thinking areas so that you can utilize that at your own leisure if needed, or create something that is similar to that. But I did want to leave you with that resource. I am a huge fan of design thinking and project-based learning experiences because I really feel it enhances student agency, allows them to bring their full selves into the classroom and help students to be experiencing the skills that they're going to be needing in today's workforce. And you might be thinking it's going to be very difficult to create these lessons. We have our own curriculums and, I don't have the time to do that. So I always say, why not ChatGPT it or use an AI technology that we might be familiar with? And for this example, and I will share more examples in my session today on ChatGPT and the use of ChatGPT for creating lessons. But for this particular example, I asked ChatGPT to create a lesson for the UN Sustainable Goals for Inequality using a design thinking approach. I asked it to use learning intentions and success criteria and ensure educational technology is woven throughout. I asked it to provide scaffolds for diverse learner needs. And I asked it to tie it to Common Core standards. You definitely want to be very specific. You want to ensure that you're giving the appropriate parameters to ChatGPT so it can give you and yield the responses that you are hoping for. So ChatGPT did it, and this is just an element of what ChatGPT gave me. ChatGPT gave me the standard. It gave me some scaffold ideas for diverse learners, including graphic organizers and sentence frames and multi-model learning materials. And I may have added one or two myself, the ones that I know of to be, impactful for our students, our diverse learner needs. And I share that because ChatGPT gives one response, and you may ask it follow-up questions to give you the response it wants, but you might also use that and create and add some of your own experiences and your own teacher expertise into those responses as you're creating those lesson plans. It also gave me these research components. So it can do a myriad of things. It can also create stations for you. It can give you some ideas on the flexible learning experience that I talked about in terms of student agency. It can do so many different things. And I would love to share that with you later today. I'll share some further examples with you on how we can use ChatGPT to our advantage in order to save our time and come up with some wonderful ideas as you collaborate with it. I call it a collaboration of super minds. As we empower learners, as I leave you today, I want you to think about the ways in which we can empower student agencies with some of the examples that I shared with you today, because student agency ultimately leads to student motivation. It leads to students feeling that sense of belonging and identity in the space that they are in. And also, let's think about enhancing personalized learning experiences for our students, for our diverse learners that come to our classroom every single day. Let's move away from that one-size-fits-all model and meet the needs of all of our learners. And let's inspire change through the use of meaningful technology implementation, rather than considering technology as this babysitting tool, which I know it could definitely be that. Let's think about how we can truly use it for meaningful technology implementation. And I want to leave you with this. This was a recent meeting I had with Miss Kennedy, who is now Miss Rosie's. We continue to interact on social media. And when I got my doctorate earlier this year, she sent this message, and it still meant so much to me. She said she was happy for me and that I've always been her star. And to this day, I continue to be impacted by this one teacher. And I hope that we can have more than one teacher for our students. Thank you so much for listening to this keynote today. Let's continue to elevate and educate to elevate all of our student voices and provide the instructional experiences that they absolutely deserve. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sanal, for your awesome, inspiring, and very tactical and concrete keynote. We walked away with so many strategies and ways to integrate and blend technology into the learning experience. That was awesome. And I just want to, I'm sure we all in the audience here, or I hope we all have that connection to a teacher who really made a difference in our lives, for how Ms. Kennedy made that difference for you in wanting to become a teacher. So the power of connection is also so important. And you shared really inspiring ways that technology can help with that, creating that connection for students' identity and creating that safe learning space for them. And so I'm just blown away. And as you can tell, my mind is going. I'm sure everyone else's is too. So thank you so much. And yes, to our audience, for those who want to learn more from Dr. Patel, she does have a session with us on ChatGPT and lesson design. So that is coming up later this morning as well. So, Digital District participants, I'd like to kick it over to Zareen Poonen-Levine, who is DOT's Director of Digital Learning and Enablement. Hello, Zareen. Zareen's going to walk us through some logistics for our day together. Again, we hope that you have a very impactful, inspiring, and productive day, that you have takeaways for how to bring technology in more meaningful and deeper learning ways into your classroom and into your work and how you do your job every day. So with that, Zareen, why don't you get us off and started into the next phase of the day?
Thank you so much, Melissa. It's so great to see everyone here. And I just want to say again, a big thank you to Melissa, Dr. Sanal Patel, and also Dr. Wayne for all your inspiring words this morning to help us get started. The DOT's digital learning team that I lead has been planning this day for months. So we're so excited that it's actually here, and we'll get to have you enjoy all of our sessions that are coming up, including another keynote that we have in the afternoon after lunch at 12:30 from Saba Kidwai. So first of all, I want to repeat some of the important logistics that Melissa reviewed at the beginning of the day. First of all, everything can be found at our Digital District Day website. So you can memorize that link right now. It's sfusd.edu/DDD. If you ever get lost, want some recommendations, or want to find some links that we've mentioned, everything is up there on the website. And then on the next slide, this is the sign-in link. So you just have to sign in once for the day, but make sure you do that. And all this info is being repeated in the chat. Thanks again to Steve Kiesel for helping us do that. And then nextly, we want to make sure that we value your time, and we want to make sure you get paid for attending this event. So please follow these 3 steps to make sure you get paid. So first, you have to sign in just once. Then you submit your hours to your supervisor. And lastly, you do need to submit it in Empower as well. So please let us know if you have questions when you're going through that process. And on the next slide, don't worry if you have too many sessions that you're really interested in. There's a lot of great sessions. I have the same problem. I know I'm going to be looking at some of these recordings afterwards, but everything will be available for you again on the Digital District Day website. And here's a direct link to the recordings. They aren't up yet because we're just starting out, but after today, you'll be able to reference everything there. And we want to hear how the day is going, so feel free to share your ideas. I'm still calling this tweeting, even though I know there are new names afloat, but please tag us as you share things there. And so just want to review the schedule here. So right after this keynote this morning, we have a short pause for you to take a break, and then 9:55 will be the first session. We have a lot of great things there. As Sanal mentioned, she has a session that is going to be great about harnessing ChatGPT. We also have our own digital learning team doing a K-5 instructional guide session, and several wonderful sessions from some of our key tools like Seesaw, Google, Adobe, KQED. So feel free to explore all those sessions. And also don't feel bad about switching sessions. If you go to one and you think that's not really the right one for me, we won't feel bad if you switch. We want to make sure that you're getting what's right for you out of this day. Also, you might see some of these sessions live streamed in the lobby. We're experimenting with these features of Zoom events. So you might see things, and that's a nice way to preview some of the sessions as well. So feel free to bounce around, find a session that you really love. And remember, if there's more than one that you're interested in, we'll have those recordings after the fact. And don't forget to come back after these 2 sessions and lunch. As I said, we're going to have another keynote, and we'll talk more about some of the digital learning team initiatives. So we're going to be heading off to sessions. And if you go to the next slide, if in this Zoom events platform, you can click in the upper right where it says sessions, or on the black box where it says explore sessions. And also if you're overwhelmed, not sure where to start, again, you can go back to our Digital District Day website. If you scroll to the bottom of that page, we have a bunch of recommendations by role. So you can start there if you're not sure where to get started. So thank you so much again for coming, and we hope to see you back for the keynote at 12:30.